Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from. You have a tale. You matter. On this show, we strive to bring you the tales of people from Small Hope College in Holland, Michigan. So join us. Sit back, relax, kick your feet up, plug in the headphones or crank the music up on your drive, and just listen to our tales. Because it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter who you are. You have a tale, and you deserve to be heard. Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else, including this rattling pipe that is right above us. Welcome to the Tales of Hope podcast. My name is Nick McNamara. Hopefully by now you know this. If you don't, we're still early in the show. Go back, listen to the intro. But I've said that enough. You can find us on all sorts of social media. Facebook, Tales of Hope Podcast. Just search, it'll pop up. Instagram and Twitter, both at Tales of Hope Pod. YouTube, find us Tales of Hope Podcast. I changed that recently because we don't need to be looking at a bunch of dog videos. The Anchor app, just search Tales of Hope or go on their website, anchor.fm/Tales of Hope. Through that, you can find us on the various other podcast sites, I guess that's what you would call them, that they have graciously sent us to, including Spotify. Very special guest that I have lined up today. I've known her, I think, since you were a freshman.
Wow.
Have you worked at the Boston since then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've known you the entire time. Senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Two-time captain for the women's basketball team. And just an amazing person. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only
Oh my goodness.
Victoria Swift.
Wow, I'm so happy to be here.
2 days out from the season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How are you feeling?
Super excited.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely ready to get a basketball in our hands. Yep.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So is that 2 days until first game? Or?
So no, tryouts start on Monday.
Gotcha.
And then our first game, I believe, is the middle of November. So we'll have about a month of practice. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still.
Oh yeah, it goes by fast.
Time.
So, oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, take us all the way back to the beginning. Where are you from?
I am from LaGrange, Illinois, which is a suburb outside of Chicago, about 20-30 minutes west of the city.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, like I said, you're a senior. What are you studying?
My major is psychology, and my minor is ministry.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what are you thinking about doing with that?
Wow, what a good question. I have felt more called into full-time missions, honestly, since the end of high school. And so even coming to Hope, I had that on my heart in a lot of ways. Was like, God, I don't know if you can use me. Like, am I good enough for that? I don't know. Just a lot of wrestling and questions. But he's definitely confirmed that more and more. And I went into psychology just because I love people. Mm-hmm. And I love thinking about how we function as humans and have thought about counseling a little bit. Not sure that I'm going to go into that professionally, but maybe at some point down the road. But just thought psychology would give me a good kind of base of like living with people, loving people, working with people, you know?
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So, talk about growing up. What was that like outside of Chicago?
Growing up? Wow, so many directions I could go.
Hey, go wherever you want. This is your show.
Wow. So, growing up for me was full of family. I think that especially being now at Hope and being about to enter, quote unquote, the real world. I think I live in the real world now, but you know, we use that phrase. I think that what stands out the most is my family, just because I lived with my mom growing up until probably I was about 8. My parents were divorced when I was 2.
Okay.
But my dad always lived in the area, so I grew up with him as well. And then my mom got remarried, to my stepdad, whose name is Kyle.
Okay.
And then both sets of my grandparents, my mom's parents and my dad's parents, both lived in the area. I had uncles and cousins and whatnot in the area as well. And since me coming to college, a lot of them have moved away and just like moved to different places. And my dad's parents, both of them, passed away last year.
Okay.
So I think that I've just come to realize how important my family has been in shaping me and in my childhood. And even with basketball, like my grandpa on my mom's side grew me up playing basketball since I could probably barely walk. And so like a little Scooby-Doo ball and tiny hoop and whatnot. And just learned that I think family is one of the most important things in life. And definitely. Yeah, that they've shaped me in the way that they've loved me and cared for me and supported me no matter what in my life. So, yeah.
So you said they were divorced when you were 2. Talk about that. How did that affect you at all?
Yeah, so I definitely would say that in regards to having parents who are divorced, probably one of the better situations I've like ever heard of or like seen with my parents, in the sense that they get along, they're very friendly with each other. Like at my basketball games, they would always, like all sides of my family, both sides of my family, would sit together. At my games would have like at my birthday parties would have both sides at the same party and whatnot. And so that all was probably like the best that I could ask for in like terms of the circumstance. But as far as it affected me, like definitely was difficult in terms of the tension between, no matter if like, your parents want you to feel it or not, like you feel, you know, the tension of, okay, well, like I don't want to love one of you more than I love the other. Or, and so, and both my parents are pretty different people. And so just kind of experienced 2 different homes in a sense. And even I think would like change my personality a little bit based on which home I was in. And so definitely felt the tension of that in terms of parents, and then kind of in my own life as well. And went through my own phases of, I think, really appreciating both of them, and then also, you know, like wrestling with both of them and all of that. So yeah, overall I can say that it's definitely been a journey and something that like I wouldn't wish upon anybody, and that I don't hope for. But I do believe that the Lord is faithful to like take brokenness and to make it beautiful and to redeem. And He has definitely done that in my life, and even in both my relationships with my parents. So
high school. Outside of basketball, obviously. What all did you do?
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a question. What did I do? High school. Okay. So, I really love school. And so high school for me was, I did play basketball all the time in terms of like my high school team and a club team that I did. And I'd played softball growing up until high school and gave it up like freshman year just because I focused on basketball and had made this club team that was like, took a lot of my time. But I loved school, and so therefore like really pushed myself in terms of like taking AP classes and all of that stuff. And so a lot of that took up my time, but I loved studying and like enjoyed learning about like all the different things like bio and physics and calculus. I loved calc. But yeah, so that was definitely a big part of it. I would say just hanging out with friends and family, again, super big. I'm trying to think of what else I like was involved in. I went to youth group throughout high school. My story is a little bit more that I like really surrendered my life to Jesus after my sophomore year of high school. So kind of like a dramatic shift in like lifestyle and whatnot from first 2 years to second 2 years, but started going to youth group the second 2 years, which was really important. I was involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes a little bit at my high school, and various other clubs that I would kind of like randomly attend sometimes. But overall, there was a organization called Reclaim 13 that like helps with women who've been sexually abused and whatnot. And I participated in a 5K with them and just some things like that because I was interested. So I kind of like hopped over different things, like
so you stayed involved in.
Yeah.
Nice. So you said sophomore year is when you you want to talk about that a little bit, because I know that's a very big part of your life.
Yeah, I do love Jesus a lot. Yeah, so my sophomore year of high school, I was in a relationship with a guy for a year, a little over a year. And I had a best friend, and she had been my best friend since preschool. Okay. And all of that was kind of, like I said, before giving my life to the Lord, really, truly, because I grew up in the church in terms of going to church every Sunday for the most part. Like, Mom prayed with me, like those kinds of things. Yeah. But I didn't understand that Jesus was everything. That, like, he's worthy of my life, and like, wow, like he's God, you know. Like, that's not just something to be like, okay, I'm gonna go to church on Sunday and like pray sometimes, you know. And so in the midst of growing up, I definitely did, you know, participate in that. But like I said, sophomore year, boyfriend and best friend, I was on vacation, got home. One of my other friends was like, Vic, like, I think you need to like figure out what's happening between them, because like there's definitely something going on. And like, I don't know. And so I like confronted them both about it, and like basically they kind of liked each other but weren't sure what to do about it. Right. Both loved me, but whatever. And it was just really, it was really hurtful. Yeah. Definitely felt betrayed by both of them. Obviously broke up with the boyfriend, stopped being friends with the best friend, and found myself at this juncture in life where I wasn't going to be friends with them anymore. Was feeling really hurt and alone, and realized that that whole friend group too was kind of beginning to like go down the like party scene route. And for some reason I never got involved in that in high school. I just had like this, well, I don't need that. Like, I don't know, you know. But yeah, so realized, okay, I don't want to do that. I was just in this place of, honestly, in a lot of ways, like, what am I putting my hope in? Where am I going? And that's actually like what Jesus asked me. I was praying one day and like really clearly just heard his voice. I don't know how to describe it, but just said, Victoria, where have you put your hope? And I was like, well, in these people. He's like, where has that gotten you? I was like really broken. And he's like, put your hope in me. Like, I'm really the only true hope that there is, right? Who will never let you down, who will love you, who will be there, and I'm worth that. So from there, I like really did that, and it was super messy. Like, that was this summer going into my junior year, and going into my junior year, I like definitely like stumbled along, like, and just needed his grace so much, in terms of just like the first few years of high school being really, just living into this like worldly identity of, honestly, in a lot of ways, just wanting attention from guys. Right. And my junior year, like, the Lord just every step would be with me and just strengthened me and sanctified me and gave me this love and passion for him that like literally changed my life like 180. And that honestly just happened so much through waking up every morning and just reading the Bible with him every morning, because I didn't really have a mentor or anybody to like pour into my life or like teach me to follow Jesus. So it was like me and the Lord. And yeah, I just have been walking with him ever since then. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess I can bring this up now. I was going to wait until talking about college, but
sure.
You know, big into basketball, big into Jesus. How do those two intersect? Like, how are you able to use basketball to express your love for Jesus?
Wow, what a great question. I love that
That's
question.
all we do on this show, just ask great questions.
Okay, great. Wow. Yeah, so that's actually been a huge wrestling of mine, honestly, because when I gave my life to the Lord, I just had this understanding that, like, wow, we surrender everything to Jesus when we give him our lives. Like, it's not, oh, I'm just going to add him to my life. And so I realized, I think even especially coming into college, like, wow, I need to surrender basketball to Jesus. And what does that mean? And I definitely went through a period of realizing that in a lot of ways, like, basketball was my idol. I found a lot of my worth from it, a lot of my life, like devoted myself to it. And all of that. And in the midst of that was really convicted and was like, okay, Lord, how can I give this to you? And how can I worship you in this and glorify you and love you in it? And because it was an idol, I thought, okay, I just need to cut it off. Like, I just need to quit. Like, I need to be done. And that's just what I'm going to do. And I wrestled with that. And wow, to think senior year now, here we are. And like, just thinking back, even to those conversations with Mo, I know you've said you like talked to him on this. But yeah, and I ended up playing my freshman year. And that year was a ton of wrestling. Just like a ton of crying out to the Lord, like, I don't want this to be my idol, and like really wrestling. Like, I didn't have that figured out.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know if I still have it figured out, but yeah, tore my ACL in the middle of the season, which was devastating.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, though, like, what the Lord has done in my life because of it, in terms of inviting me into himself to show me what it means to suffer, and to realize, like, in that time in life, I was crying out so much, like, my whole freshman year, like, Lord, if there is anything that I'm putting my hope in besides you, if there is anything that I'm finding my identity in besides you, like, any, like, of my own accomplishments, like, any of my own personality, like, anything, I don't want it. Like, please, just, like, all I want is you.
Right.
And so even in tearing my ACL, like, the Lord answered that prayer in that season of life. Like, I couldn't cling to basketball, and I had to cling to him alone. And I very much cried many days.
Right.
And like, sought him in the midst of that, and he just showed me what it meant to, that he suffered, and that he willingly did that, and with the joy, like, right, that was up before that him, he endured the cross. And so then coming out of that, my sophomore year, it was actually probably even harder than tearing my ACL, was coming back from my ACL.
Right.
Because it was so emotional and just mental, and like, I was just a mess, like, a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to play, and I wanted to be good again. Like, and I just, like, wasn't as good as I was before I tore my ACL. Well, okay, at least in the beginning.
Right.
And yeah, just, like, struggle with that whole coming back season and all of that. And again, like, had to find that my identity isn't in my performance, and it's in the Lord. And then I went to something before my sophomore year called UTC. It's Ultimate Training Camp.
Okay.
It's through Athletes in Action. And I learned at that camp a ton about what it means to like, really play a sport and, like, give glory to God in that sport. Just, like, practically, we, like, talked about that the whole camp and, like, lived into that. And I really brought that back in terms of, I think it's really, like, God is most glorified when we are most satisfied in him. And so just learning to be satisfied in him when I play basketball, that it doesn't matter how I perform or how I play, that he loves me, and that my identity isn't changing. And that in that, then I can work as hard as I possibly can, motivated not to earn his love, but motivated because I have his love.
Right.
And then kind of more so even last year and into this year, as I've learned to really just my own performance, right, like, give glory to the Lord, have grown and wanting to invite my teammates into that, and see basketball as, like, an incredible gift from the Lord to have 15 other women around me that I can pour into and love and serve. And that looks different each day, whether it's praying with somebody or just encouraging someone or sharing Jesus with someone that doesn't know him, or and just this year, the Lord has been answering a lot of those prayers and just raising up people in our program that really want to love him and grow with him, and see basketball as something that is used to glorify him. And so it's been an incredible honor even before season started, but this year, to be walking with a few of my teammates in that. And we're excited for what this year will bring, both on the court and off the court. So
good.
Yeah.
And now, before we move on from basketball, and I saw it, in the picture, you and Frankie, you guys are just, talk about that relationship, because I've always looked at you two as, like, you're two of the most positive people that I know. And, like, you light up rooms whenever you come in. Just talk about how you guys kind of feed off each other.
Yeah, Frank and I definitely have a special relationship, especially coming in our freshman year, room together, and are the only two people in our class that are like on the team. So our freshman year, we were the 2 that made varsity. And then just throughout the years, you know, we're now the 2 seniors.
Right.
And so that has definitely created this like special bond between us where I feel like we know each other well at this point to know how to encourage each other and how to motivate each other. Definitely on the court, and then even off the court, that relationship, kind of like you said, just being positive and having fun. Like, I know that I can always like run up to her and like be so excited to see her, and she's so excited to see me, and just like the love that's been established in our relationship has been really cool to be a part of, and just over the years to see that grow.
Right.
And just to care about her so deeply as a person and know like her care for me too. And so, yeah, I would say it's really exciting to, last year for sure, lead with her. And then this year, like definitely like as senior captains, right? Thinking like, okay, how do we want to leave an impact on this program? And like our senior year, neither of us want it to be about us. We want it to be about the team. We want it to be about serving the younger players. We want it to be about empowering those below us and saying like, guys, like this is your program, like, you know, and how can we come alongside of you and support you in this? And so it's a huge blessing to have her as like my fellow senior and captain. Just somebody who loves life, loves the Lord, wants to love our teammates well, and live a life that's bigger than basketball. Right. And that's something that's really special, and we're really excited for.
That was actually something I was going to ask, is like if you two had sat down and discussed, like, you know, all right, what are your goals for the team, not on the court, but you know, the bonding and the you know, the team building and off the court. Like, I didn't know if you guys had sat down with each other and said, you know, here's what we want to do. How are we going to go about it or not? But,
yeah, definitely in the process. We've had a few conversations, and I think right now I have the same vision, but I think right now we're in the process of, okay, these are our goals, or these are our dreams, or these are whatever. How are we actually like tangibly going to implement this? Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, just kind of wanting to, I think the biggest thing is just our culture and saying like, how can we create a culture in Hope Women's Basketball that is, I don't even know the right word, but I guess that is just centered on the Lord, that is beautiful and good, and those are kind of like big words, but really just a culture that I think serves and loves and includes and supports. So we want to do all of those things, and it's just little things, even at open gym or practice or things like that, when, okay, normally you would make the freshmen do something or whatever, and it's like, no, like we're going to be the ones that, you know, like go clean up or do this or do that. And then just making sure that we are like the most positive, the most encouraging. A big thing is we just want everybody to be seen. We want everybody to know that they are known, that they are loved, that they are cared for. So going out of our way and holding each other accountable to that, of like, how many people did you talk to this week, or how many people did you just stop and encourage, or, you know, so being vocal and finding all the people in our program that need that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, all right, talked enough about basketball. Well,
you know.
I think so.
Yeah. We can move on.
What else do you do here at Hope? I know you've been involved with Emmaus, correct?
Yes.
If you want to talk a little bit more about that, but also everything else that you've done.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Okay. Emmaus. So going into my sophomore year, so I started Emmaus, so my whole sophomore year I was in that, which is just an intentional Christian living program where we seek to grow in the Lord and I like just understand what it means to live a Christian life in terms of kind of like all areas of life, all aspects of society, really centered on seeking justice. And that program was just really cool for me because I hadn't really in my life ever been around a group of people who are devoted to the Lord and like seeking Him together. And so that was really special in growing my faith, and especially in terms of understanding, wow, like I'm part of the body of Christ. Like my salvation isn't about me. Like,
right.
Like this individual mentality that I think we can really easily get in America. And seeing that this is about us and being together. And so that program, just a ton of it was praying together. We took a religion class together, which was really special in terms of reading scripture and then reading some books and just talking about what does it mean to follow the Lord and to seek justice and different aspects of society. And that really honestly opened my eyes in a lot of ways to the world that's around us. I think I grew up in a very white, middle class, suburban neighborhood and thought, oh yeah, like life is good, you know?
Yeah.
And like through this class and being part of Emmaus, like those blinders were stripped and like praise the Lord for that. And it was really hard and it was a lot of wrestling and like probably the biggest thing from Emmaus, honestly, was my roommate. Her name is Corinne, and she's actually my roommate right now too. But her and I would just pray together almost every night, and like talk about how we were doing, talk about like big issues and just the world and everything. And she was super supportive and helpful in processing, like, okay, what does it mean that we live in a racialized society? Because like that's the thing, and I didn't know that. And you know, there's all of these other issues in terms of immigration and like everything that we talked about that were really big and really heavy and really real. And so that was a big part of Emmaus for me, as well as, again, just finding people who like really were sold out for the Lord. And like those friendships are some that are my closest friendships today. So that was a huge part of my experience at Hope that I really, really loved. And I'm really thankful that I got to do. Other things that I've been involved at Hope. So probably a big one is Athletes in Action. I mentioned it earlier with going to the camp, but that has just been the biggest blessing to see grow because my freshman year I came here and we didn't have Athletes in Action. And Hope is a Christian campus. And so of course there are Christian activities and things to do and Bible studies and campus ministries, and that's all awesome. But there's a sense of, as an athlete, just a difference. And I don't know how to describe it, but just, okay, great, I can go to this Bible study and learn how to follow Jesus, but for some reason that's really hard to apply to sport. And so it's like, I was longing for that because my freshman year, how I had said, come in being confused and wrestling with how do I tie basketball in faith. And so my one of the girls on the team, Elizabeth Perkins, knew the Athletes in Action directors at MSU, Phil and Julie Gillespie, and they started coming out to Hope and just meeting with a handful of us. And we just started brainstorming, like, what could this look like if we had it on Hope's campus? Started praying into that and loved meeting with them and just have seen that grow as kind of an organization on Hope's campus and have been in leadership since my freshman year with that and have really, really enjoyed that. And that's been so special to be a part of. And so this year, just really excited to to see how that continues to grow. And I think we're on like a really beautiful journey with that in terms of this year doing some more like house church type discipleship group things and really just wanting to be the body together as athletes and learn to love the Lord and obey him and follow him. And I think it's going to be really good. So that's been a big thing. I have been part of Pillar Church's youth group. So that was freshman, sophomore, and junior year. I'm not doing it this year. I finally learned the whole lesson of like, you can say yes to like a million good things. And like, that's always, or not always the best. And so sometimes, you have to say no. But, so like I've been involved in that. Kyle Reason graduated last year, football player, and he started a club called Team 43, which was for injured athletes. So I helped him with that last year, or it was my sophomore year, so 2 years ago we kind of started it, and it like went into last year a little bit too, but with him graduating and whatnot, we haven't kind of continued that this year. So that was a really interesting thing to be a part of, just to see like what it actually takes to like start a new organization and start a club and the logistics of all of that and everything. And it was it was good. It was hard. And I don't know, ultimately, is it a failure because we're not still doing it? I don't know, but it was a great thing, to be a part of. And honestly, also helped me learn last year when both of my grandparents had passed away within like 2 months of each other. Like I was a mess, like fully walked through the stages of grief and like depression in that and everything. And just like I couldn't be a part of everything. And so I stepped back from pretty much everything that I was involved in last year. And just played basketball and went to school and cried out to the Lord all year. And he is faithful and good, but it was really hard. So this year it's been really cool to come back and just kind of be, and I'm realizing that everything that the Lord has me here for, and just wanting to live daily in his presence and following him. So again, haven't continued to be involved in like a ton of things this year. But also there's a ministry called Barnabas Ministries. It works with at-risk youth. And so I've been part of some of their girls groups. I've done like juvenile detention ministry with them, pen pal ministry with them, kind of like different things. So that was like my freshman and sophomore year too. There have been like other random things that I've like kind of been involved in here and there and whatnot, but Go
back and talk about the juvenile detention ministries. Because I remember there's one time you had mentioned that to me, and that's something that I've heard a lot of people talk about. And I feel like, was that intimidating at first, or?
Yeah, so I think at first I definitely didn't know what to expect, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm pretty loud and excitable, and just kind of like not very restrained. And, with that, I think I was like, okay, I don't really know how to, I don't know how I'm supposed to interact with these girls. Like, I'm going to go in, a bit more reserved. I'm going to be quiet because I can be, if I need to be. But they were so much fun. And I definitely was intimidated at first. But the first time that I did juvenile detention outreach was with a group of girls. And so it was their whole kind of like pod or whatnot. And I would go in and we would play games with them, kind of hang out, talk with them. Mainly all centered around games though. And that was really fun. And you could definitely tell like there were girls that were hard to interact with and, just had like really hard stories. But for the most part, all of them were so welcoming and excited we were there and like really loved us and were like, love that we were coming. And that was a blessing to be welcomed into that place and into their lives. And just to get to encourage them and have fun with them. And that was really special. And then I also did something else in the Juvenile Detention Center last year, where I forget how long, it was a handful of months, where I would go in once a week and teach basketball to one of the girls. So every girl that goes through the Juvenile Detention Center does a like kind of final challenge, it's called. And so they pick something that they want to be challenged in that, maybe they've done before and want to get better at, or maybe they've never done before. And so I was able to go in and teach one of the girls basketball, which was really special and totally, depended on the day how it went, you know? And sometimes didn't even get to playing the actual basketball part because it was just emotions, you know? And so just learning to sit in that and be with her, and that was a privilege and an honor, and something that was really cool. And at the end of the challenge, got to kind of play a little like basketball game with her and some of the girls in her pod at Hope, actually in DeVos, which was really special.
That's awesome.
Just to invite them in there and like get to play with them, and they had a good time. So that's been mostly what it is. I've done different not regular, but just different things with them as well. Sometimes they'll take some of their girls, not necessarily that have been in juvenile detention, but just some of the other like at-risk youth in Ottawa County. We'll take them to like cooking or things like that. And so I remember a few times going to, it's like this retreat center that has a kitchen, and you get to cook with the girls and kind of like teach them, help them learn how to cook, and then eat with them and whatnot.
Nice.
Which is also super beneficial for me because I'm not great at cooking. So I learned some things too.
Typical college student.
Yeah, you know. So yes, but
nice.
all of that has been really good.
That's awesome. Wow. Now, kind of go back to basketball, but one thing that I guess for me, it's kind of one thing I've always wanted to experience or know about, but like, just talk about when you step out on that court, especially like think to the Calvin games or the big conference games, packed house. Like, what goes through your mind?
Yeah. I would say a lot of excitement. There's always nerves.
Oh, yeah.
I think those are good to an extent, Yeah. I would say the biggest thing that goes through my mind is, like, we've earned this.
Right.
Like, we are better. And usually it's a lot of just, like, team-focused mentality. Because I think, especially for me, but I think for a lot of athletes, I don't know, when you turn inward, you get nervous and you are, like, you question and everything. And so just being like, all right, I know that we have worked every day in practice on how to do this, this, and this in terms of, like, attacking their defense. And we know how to do this, this, and this in terms of stopping their offense. And so it's just this mentality of, like, trusting our coaching staff that they've prepared us well, trusting our team that, we have put in the work to, like, get this win. And so, yeah, I would say that those are the biggest things that are running through my head are just belief in, like, our team and our program in the way that we play basketball, and just saying, like, we just have to give it our everything. And I think that's the biggest thing that I, like, want to instill in our team, especially even coming off last year, is just this mentality of we are good enough and don't question that.
Right.
And so, like, when we're down a few in the first quarter, or we're down a few in the third quarter, or we're up 4 and people are like, why are you only at 4? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that we are good enough and we put in the work, and we need to believe in that and not be scared, but come out and have this confidence that is shown that we believe in ourselves. So yeah, just really wanting to do that. I think encouragement is another really big thing, where I'm just like, okay, I just want to encourage my teammates around me. And so especially in those big games where, like, the crowd is really loud and you do have nerves and this is a big game and, like, we need to win and, like, I want to make my shots and all of these things. Really just pouring into the person next to you, and encouraging her and kind of letting that then fuel your own performance in a way.
Yeah. Nice. So, normally at this point, I would be asking everyone, what they did after college.
Oh,
we don't know this part yet.
Yeah.
This is new for me, but so I guess instead of, what did life after college look like? I guess now I can say to you, what are you hoping life after college is going to look like?
Wow. Wild. Life after college, hope that I survive. No, just kidding.
I mean, it's a very valid hope.
Yeah, so kind of how I said, coming into Hope, I always had this, like, deep burden, passion for missions. And I think that is just my biggest hope for leaving college as well. Something that I realize I'm super excited for this year, even, like, looking ahead, being like, oh my goodness, like, it is within reach. Like, it's so close. Because, I mean, I had conversations on the phone with my mom my freshman year, bawling, being like, Mom, why am I at Hope College? Like, I want to leave and just go right now. These 4 years have been incredible, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. And it's exciting to see kind of the way that Hope truly has prepared me, and just the way that I really do believe in the liberal arts education of Hope, and just feeling like a really well-rounded person, and maybe not, like, crazy qualified in a specific trade or, like, like my major or whatever, but feeling like I have a really good grasp on just wanting to be kind of how we talk about like a global citizen, right?
Yep.
And I'm excited to kind of launch in to the world in that sense and feel prepared and ready like when that day does come. And I'm hoping that right now, like I have prayed about other opportunities in terms of grad school or, you know, whatnot. But yeah, really just feel called to the mission field. So more so full-time ministry and wanting to potentially, I don't know, like I could counsel in that sense. I could like coach basketball,
right.
all different opportunities. So we'll see kind of like where that goes and what happens with that. But I definitely am at like a place in life where it's all kind of surrendered to the Lord and I don't have a plan when I graduate. So it totally is just like, okay, I hope that, you know, this is what happens. But I am currently in a relationship, which I did not expect. I was like the last person to be like, yeah, anyways, the Lord. But so it's like interesting also to be in a place in life where like I need to be quote unquote planning for like what's next and all of that. But in a place where it's like, okay, well, I'm waiting on, always waiting on the Lord, but then waiting on this relationship too. And like in a place where like it is really serious. And so it's like, not like I'm not deciding on my own what I'm doing next, like we're deciding together. Okay. And that's like also this whole new level of surrender and like I don't know what's happening.
No, yeah.
And so kind of the future is very much like taking one day at a time right now. And I think that there are things that I'm interested in that I'm like, oh, this could be sweet or this could be sweet, but we'll have to see. Even recently I've just like started thinking about holistic health and the idea of like really wanting to care for people like mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, like all of the aspects of a human, not just like one of them. And so even things like that interest me in terms of, I don't know if that would be for their education or whatnot, but yeah, still open and discerning.
Well, even though, you know, it's still open, have you done like a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, just kind of like looking ahead at what, like at this moment in your life, what you want to have accomplished by then? Have you thought about that?
Wow, that's a big. Where do you want to be in 20 years? You know, I'm hoping that tomorrow I'm good. Okay. 20 years. Okay, I really haven't like thought that deeply about it just because I think actually I'm sure that I have in some sense, and I'm sure I am a planner. And so by nature, I really hold to my plans and liking to control things and liking to have a schedule and a routine and all that kind of stuff. And so I think sometimes in thinking about the future, I do the same thing. But this has actually been a season of life where the Lord has really been stripping me of that and showing me like the truth in James where it talks about like, don't even say what you're doing tomorrow because like you don't know, you know, and just like say if the Lord wills, I'll go here and do that and whatnot. And so really quite literally like that is where I am at in life and just saying like, okay, Lord, tomorrow, like what do you want me to do? And that being said, like I do think about the future in terms of, like wanting to be on the mission field for the rest of my life. Like I could totally see myself doing that and loving that. I like hope to have a family one day, but I don't know like what that'll look like, you know? I would be super down to coach basketball at some point or do counseling, but it's more so just like really open and not like, oh, I definitely want to have these things done in like 10 years or whatnot. And just because I think that even if I thought about 5 years ago from now, like what I thought I was going to be doing, like it's totally different. And so I don't want to be like too attached to like my own ideas for the future, you know? And so I think that maybe probably within the next year or two, we'll have like a better understanding of even more so like a longer term plan. But I think right now, just because the next year itself is so, you know what I mean? Like there's just nothing, like no guarantees, no plan, nothing that like it's hard then to think about past that, like 10 years, 20 years. And so maybe once this next year or two is down, right, then I can kind of see more so of a direction or more so of a, you know, whatever, and see more 10 or 20 years down the line. But right now I got nothing.
Trust me, it's like you said, there is no like sense of knowing what's going to happen, because, you know, I went from doing what I did to Voss, wanting to do that, that's why I got my degree in, to custodial.
Right.
A month after graduation.
Yeah.
And so, you have the idea.
Yeah.
You know, you have the goals that you want. Those are what you want.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that you're kind of, you know, open. Like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. You don't have the one set.
Right.
And like, that's what I hope, you know, everyone who's listening, that's what I kind of hope you guys are doing with your life too. Is not like, this is what I want, I'm not going to stop until this is what I get. And then you just see everything crumble around you because you're not looking. Yeah, right. So, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to be wrapping this up soon, but I'm going to have you do 2 things before we end.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of how to do this one now, because I'm trying to decide. Normally I would have my guests do a letter to their college freshman self. Oh. But I'm kind of wondering, with you, you're the guinea pig for the student.
There you go. I feel great about it. I'm a fan.
So I guess maybe even go back to your high school self.
High school self, okay.
Kind of looking back as you're at the end of your college years, kind of write to them and just, you know, what you've learned that you want them to put into practice.
I would say, number 1, trust Jesus. But not in the cliche, like, I'll just throw it up, like, it's fine. But, like, really, truly, like, trust that he knows what's good. Because I think the biggest thing that I've learned since being at college is, like, what I think is good may not be. Right. And even what's painful or uncomfortable for me, like, the Lord is actually using to make me more like him. And so I would tell, like, my high school self, like, don't try and hold on to yourself. Like, don't try and hold on to what you think is good or best, or what you find your identity in. Like, really let the Lord do whatever he wants to do in your life, and don't be scared of that. Don't be scared of losing your life, because, like, in losing your life, you will find life, you know? And I would say, like, love people around you. Like, don't care what other people think about you. Right. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've, like, grown in since being at college, is, like, I'm, like, obviously I, like, change myself sometimes, but like, I'm myself. Like, I feel so free to just, like, love people and just be who I am. And if that's, like, too much for people or whatnot, like, obviously there's a sense of wanting to respect people and not, you know, like, but I'm saying in the context of all of that, and honoring people and respecting people, and obviously, like, accommodating them, still, like, being free to be myself and be like, if people don't like that, like, great, you know, like, it's totally fine, and not feeling worried about that. And so, like, I don't know, just, like, thinking about wanting to, like, change yourself or whatever. So I would say that. I would say, like, cherish relationships, because I've realized, even just being at college, how much people, like, influence your life and love you and impact you, and wow, you know. So that's huge in terms of family relationships, in terms of friend relationships too, and just to nurture and care for those relationships. I would also say to my high school self to, like, really learn to value myself, because I think that sometimes I was, like, I very much wanted to please people and just do whatever, you know, to, like, get the approval of people. But realize, like, okay, well, this is how the Lord made me. And sure, sometimes I need to sacrifice that and lay that down. Sometimes I need to live into that. And so, like, very practically, I go to bed at, like, 10 p.m. every night. Like, if I could go to bed at 9, I would, you know? And just, like, learning, like, no, I don't need to sacrifice that every single weekend to, like, stay up late with friends or whatnot. At the same time, I don't need to like strictly hold to that and never stay up, you know? And so just learning to, in all different aspects of life, that was just one example, but yeah, to learn to value myself and know who the Lord has created me to be and how to sacrifice well and how to like live into who I am well. Yeah. Be thankful. Be thankful. That's huge. Just like thankful for everything, you know?
Always, yeah.
And not taking things for granted, like even life and just breathing and being on this earth. And like, yeah, like I would encourage myself to think about the hard questions, like ask the hard questions and don't shy away from them. And don't ask them in order to try and prove your opinion or what you already believe.
Right.
Like ask them and actually like really sit and hold the tension of not knowing and even somebody else's perspective and trying to see it from their side. And when I think that's been huge since being at college too, and something I hope to continue to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the very last thing, this is going to be, I guess, a little difficult because you have not experienced life fully as the others. But I want you to rate your life so far on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being this is nothing like I thought it would be. 5 being it's everything that I imagined. I wish we had a camera to catch that look.
Good question. Wow. Good thing we don't edit this. We can just sit in the silence. Well, Vic, thanks. I'm gonna say a 2.
2. Okay.
I don't know why.
That was gonna be the next question. Why?
I know. Part of me immediately was like, "Oh, a 5. Like this is everything that I expected. Like I love life." But then I was like you're not asking if like I'm happy in life or if I love life. Like you're asking if this is what I expected it to be.
Exactly.
And so that's why I would give it a 2 is because I never expected to like love Jesus this much or like know him and be like, he's so real. I never expected, I think to like have like the deep friendships that I do and the ways that I do with the people that I do. I don't think I expected to have a call to the mission field ever until the Lord obviously gave that.
Right.
But that wasn't like my own idea. Even just the way that my Lord, well, he is my Lord, the Lord, my Lord, has worked in my life. And specifically in regards to both my parents and just the ways that he has worked in those relationships and whatnot has been incredible. Even like the relationship that I'm in right now, like dating a guy that I'd been friends with for 3 years and was not expecting at all.
Right.
Yeah, that would be what it is now. And just like how I just think of the verse that says like God will do like greater than you can ask or imagine. And ultimately like in the context of knowing his love deeper. And so I never expected to know God's love this deep. And then that like shows through in so many aspects of life, in ways that he's like leading my life that I wouldn't have expected. So yeah, that's why I would say a 2 probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I never expected I'd be sitting here in this room with you doing this interview, you know?
Right. Hey.
All the great things.
Oh, well, Vic, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Oh my goodness, thanks for having me. This was a blessing.
And, you know, you were the first student, so in terms of the students, you're setting the bar pretty high, I'd say. And to everyone who listened to this is... Yeah, we're keeping with the pace of around an hour-long episodes, so I think...
Perfect.
Hopefully this is what all of you who are listening like. If not, this podcast might not be for you, I'm sorry. But don't forget, you can find us all forms of social media. Facebook, Tales of Hope Podcast. Instagram and Twitter, @Tales of Hope Pod. YouTube, Tales of Hope Podcast. Anchor app, just search Tales of Hope, or go on their website, anchor.fm/Tales of Hope. Yeah. You already know how I'm going to end this, folks. You can be, now I can finally say, you can be a college student like Vic. You can be a college janitor, like myself. You can be a coach. You can be a wide-eyed freshman. You can be anybody else. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you do. You have a tale. Your life matters. And you deserve to be heard. This has been the Tales of Hope podcast. I am Nick McNamara, and I will speak to you all next week.